Diary, hello. It's the 17th of November 2021, and you're here to look at my no-hobbles, fearless Xiaomi POCO F3 smartphone review. I'm here to convince you that it's a fabulous phone and the equal of phones twice its price. So let's get started with the unboxing. So I've just unboxed a phone and wrapped it and done a test restore. And in the box are the 33 watt fast charger, so you can charge your battery in just over an hour. The USB-C cable, because it's a USB-C ported phone. And some gubbins. The gubbins includes a get you started case, which is so in there is like a sort of semi-transparent case. It's a little case you put on so that you can order a case, and whilst you've got that crappy case on, in case you drop your phone, because it's not the kind of case you'd want to keep for very long. There's also a SIM extraction tool. So let's get all that gubbins out of the way and concentrate on the phone itself. And I'll first unlock the phone with the miraculously fast and accurate side-mounted fingerprint reader. Now, this phone, unlike other phones, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, Google Pixel 6, have a fantastically compliant and accurate fingerprint reader on the side. It's a physical fingerprint reader, and it's just by the power buttons there. In terms of specs, I'm not going to bang on about specs too much, just to say enough that this phone is a super high-spec phone. You can go and look up the specs on GSM Arena if you want to really look up the specs, but trust me, for £300, you'll not really be getting much better specs from any other phone anywhere. So it's got a 6.7-inch AMOLED screen, which is very bright. I'm quite sensitive to dull lights, and I like bright screens so I can actually read them. Now, it's a large, very bright screen, capable of HDR10, in case that is useful to you. And again, I don't want to bang on about specs too much. It's got all the features you can possibly imagine. You've got NFC, you've got infrared, you've got a 4,500 milliampere battery, you've got a side-mounted fingerprint reader, you've got lots and lots of functions, which makes this phone a bargain for £300. But I'm going to concentrate on what matters to me, and I think what matters to a lot of phone enthusiasts, and some counterpoints as to why it's a bad phone to buy, for example. So, the specs aside, I don't think you're going to find this phone lacking in the performance department. It's got an 8-core processor, unless you're playing games, and I'm not, so I can't offer a comment there. This is a super, super fast phone. A good thing about the phone, it's very well balanced. So unlike the Pixel 6, it's ultra thin, there's no ridiculous bump on the back, and so when you buy a case, that case just goes over the edge of that camera bump, and it's a lovely thin package. Okay, the phone is physically large, just like the Pixel 6, for example, or any 6.7-inch phone. But at least this phone is very sort of svelte. Again, this is a sort of £10 case that I bought to go with the phone, and it just feels really well balanced. I can't tell you how important that is in a phone, and something that you'd have to take my word for it, but let me tell you, the Pixel 6, for example, is an example of a really badly balanced phone. So in terms of feel, I think it's great. The next thing I did with this phone is install the Google camera. So the Google camera is here, it's loading. You can see it's got about a bazillion features. So you've got the advanced button here, and you can tweak so many different things in this Google Pixel port. Now, don't forget, this is the here are the main developer settings. So you can see you have got about a bazillion settings you can set here. Now, these are all settings you can't set in the normal Google Pixel camera app if you have a Pixel phone. So ironically, the Google Pixel ports give you a better Google camera experience if you know what you're changing than the actual Pixel phone itself. But just as the main thing to note is that, of course, you get the Xiaomi camera app, which is here. But I've installed very quickly by Googling and searching the one of many version 8 Google camera apps for this Xiaomi phone. So in terms of plus points, you've got Google camera app, you've got fantastic performance, you've got a thin, well-balanced phone with many facilities. Okay, let's go on to the negative points. So the first negative point about this phone is that the Xiaomi M3 Pro 5G, by the way, this is a dual 5G phone, is simply better value. So I've also got a Xiaomi M3 Pro 5G phone, and that phone comes in at about £200. The new one's just come out, the M4 Pro, which I don't recommend because it's slightly more expensive. But the M3 Pro, if you can get it, should be sub £200. And in many ways that's better value because although it doesn't have an AMOLED screen, it does have very fast performance and dual SIMs and 5G. So the first thing to note about this phone, it's not a criticism of this phone, it's just that relative to the Xiaomi M3 Pro 5G, it's £100 more expensive. And for that, I'm getting slightly more performance. You'll never notice that. You're getting a 48 megapixel camera with some rear lenses compared to the M4 model, which doesn't have those extra features. And both the smartphones can run Google camera ports. So I think that's a demerit to this F3 phone. The next thing is that all Xiaomi phones come with a whole variety of nonsense apps which you need to uninstall. Now the good news is that if you've done it once, you can do it again. And so when you buy a Xiaomi phone, you can just uninstall all of those apps. I think there's one or two apps you can't install, like the wallpaper app or something like that. But in most cases, you can just not accept the terms and conditions, and you can ask Android 11, as it is here, to give it no permissions and no access to anything. So in that way, you're protecting yourself from anything you think that app might be sending to its creator. So it comes bundled with rubbishy apps. You can delete nearly all of them, but there are a few still left. I think that's almost the negative features of this phone. I've thought of another positive feature of this phone, which is that the additions that MUI, which is the Xiaomi sort of launcher, provides, does provide you with a lot of extra features that you get over the standard Google Android implementation. And generally speaking, they are very interesting features. So for networking especially, I see features here on the SIM which I don't see on my Google phones. So I think, things like network traffic speed. I've got the use Wi-Fi calling, which I couldn't find on my Google Pixel 6, but I could find on this phone with the same SIM in it. There are just some extra additions using the MUI interface, which I really think are worthwhile. So there you have it. It's a F3. It's a £300 phone. Its only real competition is from a cheaper Xiaomi phone. And if you want a £150 to £200 phone, I'd recommend the M3 Pro 5G. But if you want the AMOLED display, the slightly better performance, and the actual better quality of phone in terms of its physical construction, it's slightly better than the cheaper M3 Pro, then I think this is the phone for you. Thanks for watching.